So picture this. There's this one big shot leader who gets to call the shots on what color cars his folks can drive, tweak around with their holidays, control all the media, put a leash on people's freedom to move about, and even dictate where women can plop down in a car. Sounds like it's straight out of North Korea, right? Nah, we're talking about a different puzzle here. An authoritarian regime shrouded in mystery, hardly ever getting a nod from the international press. Nestled right in the heart of Central Asia is Turkmenistan, a place that's got its own flair with a deep-rooted history and some jaw-dropping desert landscapes. This landlocked country, home to about 6 million folks, is a land of extremes. You got the sprawling plains of the Karakum Desert rubbing shoulders with the rich history of the Silk Road and its capital, Ashgabat, shining bright with its fancy schmancy monuments all decked out in white marble. Turkmenistan, a land with a history stretching back for millennia, used to be a major pit stop on the Silk Road, acting as a cultural and commercial bridge between East and West. Back in the 19th century, it got snatched up by the Russian Empire, and later on it got cozy under the Soviet Union blanket, adding another layer to its already tangled history. Turkmenistan's cultural heritage is like this vibrant tapestry, weaving together ancient traditions with stuff brought in during the Soviet era. It's mostly home to Turkmen folks, but you'll also find Russian and Uzbek communities hanging around, showing off a diversity that stretches beyond its borders. The main language, Turkmen, is like cousins with other languages in the region. Think Turkish, Kazakh, Azeri, Uzbek, and Kyrgyz, showing off deep cultural connections across Central Asia. Before we dive into our video, I'd like to share something with you all. In the first comment right below, you'll find a special link. If you're enjoying our content and are interested in supporting us so we can keep up the frequency and quality of our posts, know that any contribution will be warmly welcomed. We appreciate any support you can give us. Now, when it comes to religion, Turkmenistan's mostly all about Sunni Islam, with about 90% of the crowd following it. There's a small bunch who roll with Orthodox Christianity. But even though the Constitution talks about freedom of belief, in real life, practicing your faith here hits some bumps. The government puts the brakes on getting to places of worship and spreading religious materials. Under Serdar Berdimuhamedov's iron-fisted leadership, the guy who took over from his dad, Turkmenistan keeps a tight grip on the media, the internet, and anything public. This setup makes it one of the most closed-off places globally, bringing up the rear in democracy and freedom rankings. It's like a government that's all about keeping a tight lid on info and expression. The rise of mobile internet brought in some new angles. But true digital freedom? Yeah, it's still a far cry. The government's got an iron grip on the web, constantly snooping around online activities and slapping heavy restrictions on social media, leaving little room for dissent. If you dare to poke holes in these limits, well, you're looking at a one-way ticket to jail, or in some extreme cases, vanishing into thin air. Even though Turkmenistan's economic info is shrouded in mystery, the World Bank acknowledges that cotton and hydrocarbons are the backbone of its economy. They boast being one of the top 10 cotton producers globally and sitting on the fourth largest oil and natural gas reserves. Most of their exports head to places like Ukraine, Iran, Turkey, Russia, and the UAE. But here's the kicker. The benefits from these natural riches don't seem to trickle down to the majority of the population, who are left in the dark about the perks of these resources. The profits from Turkmenistan's exports mostly flow to grease the palms of the political elite and fund the extravagance of its capital, Ashgabat. This city, home to roughly 1 million folks, stands out with its lavish architecture. Think massive white marble buildings, fancy attractions, wide boulevards, and imposing bronze statues paying homage to its leaders. But behind all that glitz and glam, there's a darker reality lurking. Government oppression and constant surveillance weave an atmosphere of isolation and fear among the locals, earning Ashgabat the grim moniker of the City of the Dead. Turkmenistan, in a tight race with North Korea, often gets named as one of the world's most repressive countries, where personal freedoms are severely curtailed and laws come down with an iron fist. In these regimes, personality cults thrive, elevating their leaders to almost mythical status. Both in North Korea and Turkmenistan, worship of these figures hits extraordinary levels. In schools, textbooks paint the leaders as supreme beings, making it easier to manipulate and control the population. Since breaking away from the Soviet Union in 1991, Turkmenistan snagged its independence, but its political journey's been a revolving door with just 3 guys at the helm, all sporting their authoritarian stripes. It's like they're in this unofficial contest to see who can pull off the most outrageous power moves. First up was Sapa Amiret Niyazov, kicking off this ruler lineage back in 1985, holding down the fort till 2006, first as the Communist Party's big cheese and then as president until he kicked the bucket. Dude even crowned himself president for life and set up a personality cult that was off the charts. Then came Gurbanguly Berdimuhamedov in 2006, who took over the reins. While he ditched some of Niyazov's wackier schemes, he kept the political repression and media clampdown going strong. Fast forward to 2022, and leadership baton passes to Serdar Berdimuhamedov, Gurbanguly's boy, keeping that family tradition of authoritarianism alive and kicking. So, Niyazov's legacy of personality worship might have peaked with him, but it still finds its way into Turkmenistan's political playbook. Before we dive into our video, I'd like to share something with you all. In the first comment right below, you'll find a special link. If you're enjoying our content and are interested in supporting us so we can keep up the frequency and quality of our posts, know that any contribution will be warmly welcomed. We appreciate any support you can give us. One of the most notorious moves by Turkmenistan's first independent president, Niyazov, was making his book Hunama a must-read for anyone looking to make it academically or professionally in the country. That meant even getting your driver's license or snagging a gig in the public sector required cracking open his book. But Niyazov didn't stop there. He went full-on ego trip, rewriting the calendar, slapping his name, his mom's, and his literary work on months and days of the week. And the restrictions under his rule? Man, they went beyond just books. He banned ballet, opera, circuses, owning dogs, and even smoking in public spots. State cash, taxes, profits, all got funneled into glorifying him and sprucing up the capital, while folks' needs took a back seat. When Gurbanguly Berdimuhamedov, one of his former VPs, took over, there were some early signs of change. He rolled back some of Niyazov's wackier policies, like bringing back the old calendar and ditching the mandatory Hunama hoopla for civic life. Plus, he yanked out a bunch of statues of the old leader. It seemed like maybe there'd be reforms and a move away from the old authoritarian playbook. But nah, that hope for a new political direction? It was short-lived, and we quickly saw a return to the same old authoritarian ways. Berdimuhamedov wasn't just about undoing his predecessor's personality cult. He was all in on setting up his own, plastering the country with his mug. Under his watch, Ashgabat turned into this over-the-top luxury hub, with 543 buildings decked out in pure white marble, if local reports are to be believed. While the nation grappled with food shortages, the president was off doing some quirky hobbies, everything from fishing to spinning as a DJ, throwing knives in front of soldiers, and even dabbling in car design. Talk about a stark contrast between the leader's extravagance and the struggles of the regular folks. It's like his authoritarian rule hit a new low when he started shutting down hospitals outside the capital, leaving folks in need of medical help to trek miles for care. Both Baird and Muhammadov shared this superstitious belief in the lucky powers of the color white. Back in 2014, they made this wild decision. All those fancy wheels the government big shots rolled in? They had to be swapped out for white Mercedes models. Then, the next year, they took it up a notch, banning the import of black cars. And in 2018, they went full throttle, decreeing that every car in the country had to be white. Talk about taking color coordination to the extreme. As a result of this series of decisions, in the capital Ashgabat, cars of any other color got snatched up, and their owners got slapped with fines for not sticking to the new rulebook. These folks were then forced to repaint their rides white, or in some rare cases, silver. But that wasn't the end of the wild ride. The same year they imposed this white color craze, they also dropped a bombshell policy, banning women from getting driver's licenses or even hitting the road in the country. This move grabbed global attention and got slammed left and right as a major setback in the fight for women's rights. The government's move got slammed worldwide by human rights groups and the international community, calling it out for discrimination and a serious violation of women's fundamental rights. In Turkmenistan, the absence of genuinely free elections is the real deal, with the current leader, Serdar Berdimuhamedov, scoring almost unanimous approval rates, painting a picture straight out of North Korea's playbook. Press freedom in the country faces even tougher challenges, surpassing what even North Korea deals with. Journalists get barred from entering the country, and tourist visas are next to impossible to snag. But check this out. Ashgabat shines with its grand buildings, even though a lot of them are just sitting there empty. The few foreign tourists who manage to sneak into the country get closely watched and are pretty much stuck in the capital with limited movement. To buff up his dictator rep, Berdimuhamedov threw the Asian Martial Arts Games in 2017, splashing out on this mega event that led to building an Olympic village costing a whopping $5 billion, used for just a hot minute. And get this, the capital's airport got a fancy makeover with a jaw-dropping $2 billion investment. These flashy spends stand out big time against the government's shady dealings and the hefty challenges folks face with freedom and democracy. Tucked away in Central Asia, this country holds a whopping 10% of the world's natural gas reserves, ranking as the fourth biggest player in that game. They're also sitting pretty on their own oil stash and rock the 9th spot globally for cotton production, showing off their strategic position and rich natural resources. Situated in a spot that doesn't exactly make hitting the seas a breeze, this country faces some hefty hurdles when it comes to exporting its valuable natural goodies, like natural gas. To tackle this snag, they're banking on pipelines as their export lifeline, even though that comes with its own set of headaches. One of the big roadblocks? Having to snake these pipelines through neighboring nations' turf. Right now, about 80% of Turkmenistan's gas heads off to China, taking a pipeline detour through Uzbekistan and Kazakhstan. There's also a direct pipeline link to Iran. But looking to diversify their trade pals and ease off the China reliance, Turkmenistan's eyeing up a new pipeline project stretching through Afghanistan and Pakistan, all the way to India. Problem is, the political mess in that neck of the woods is a major roadblock to getting that plan off the ground. On top of that, Turkmenistan recently saw a change in leadership. Gurbanguly Berdimuhamedov stepped down from the presidency, passing the baton to his son, Serdar Berdimuhamedov, marking a major presidential handover in the country's political scene. Since gaining independence in 1991, the country has seen just 3 leadership changes. The current president, in office for 2 years now, hasn't really shaken things up with new policies. Instead, he's been big on following in his predecessor's footsteps. That's raising concerns about the potential continuation of authoritarian practices, including strict restrictions and curbs on citizens' freedoms. Amidst the Karakum Desert in Turkmenistan lies one of the world's most intriguing wonders for travelers. Known as the Door to Hell, this massive crater, measuring 70 meters in diameter and 20 meters deep, has been burning continuously for over 4 decades. The origin of this phenomenon dates back to the 1970s, when Soviet geologists were exploring the region for natural gas, kicking off the fascinating story of the Door to Hell. During a drilling operation, an unexpected incident went down when the equipment pierced a large underground cavity, causing the terrain above to collapse and releasing dangerous gases. To dodge an environmental catastrophe, the folks in charge decided to torch those gases, hoping the flames would fizzle out quick. But that hope fizzled instead. Methane gas, plentiful in the area, keeps fueling a fire that shows no signs of backing down, turning the spot into a scene both magnificent and downright spooky. With its intense heat and flickering orange lights, you can spot the crater from afar, drawing in curious onlookers and tourists from all corners of the globe. This phenomenon, known as the Door to Hell, has become one of Turkmenistan's icons, standing out amidst its barren lands and rich cultural history. Besides being a one-of-a-kind tourist attraction, the crater serves as a powerful reminder of the unpredictable consequences of human activities on nature. Don't forget to check out the video and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. We'll catch you in our next video.